Hello viewers, welcome back to Ronin Blades. My name is Christian Ray, and if it's sharp, I can make it. Whether it's new, used, or scrap, I can turn it into a beautiful and lethal metal masterpiece. This is Ronin Blades. We're back at Ronin Blades, and I'm at the drawing board. Literally. Last season, I got a comment from a fan who said, do you need all that big expensive equipment to make the stuff that you make? Well, having all this stuff is nice, and sometimes when you're bladesmithing, you do have to spend a pretty penny. But there are ways to make excellent products without breaking the bank. This is bladesmithing on a budget. The first thing you want to do is start with your material. This is 5160 rectangle stock. Now this is essentially leaf spring, so if you have access to leaf spring, you can use that and save even more money. But once you get it, you take a piece of paper and cut it to the dimensions you want. Draw on that piece of paper the knife you want to make, stick it to the material, and then you stock reduce. Now, I've never done stock reducing before, as I really prefer to forge. However, I've seen it done enough times that I know exactly what to do and what to watch out for. While our glue is drying, I'm going to take you through what stock reducing is all about. As the name suggests, you start with your stock, you put your outline on, and then you cut away all the pieces of the stock that are not underneath your outline. This leaves you with a knife shape. Now, stock reducing is considered to be a little bit of a bastard forge because of this. Let's say you have two stocks, like we have here. Now steel, a lot of people don't know this, has a grain, sort of like how wood has a grain, and it runs the course of the stock, okay? So our two stocks have grains running along them like this. Now let's say this bottom stock, we forge it. We're going to hit it to a point here and here. So we wind up with this shape. The grain inside the steel, since we've hit it down, actually follows that point. And it curves to follow the shape of the stock. That's forging. Now stock reducing, since we're cutting away, to get this same shape, we're going to cut it there and there. So these pieces go away. Okay? So you can see on our stock reducing, the grain completely stops because there's nothing there anymore, it's gone. Versus our forging, it bends to meet that tip. This is why hand forged stuff is usually better, because the grain is intact. Whereas with stock reducing, the grain stops. That makes it a little bit more susceptible to breaking, cracking, warping, just because the grain has nowhere to go, it's ended. Now this is a lot quicker though, and therefore cheaper. And that leaves you with the ultimate choice. Do you do hand forged, which is more expensive but a little bit better quality, or stock reduced, which is cheaper but a little bit less quality? Lecture over, I get to work. I start by cutting our knife stock away from the rest. Then I gingerly cut away the pieces of metal we don't need. That way I have less grinding to do later. This process also reveals another downside to stock reducing. You waste a lot of material. If I were forging this knife, the material I'm cutting away could be forged back into it and I could actually make something bigger with the same amount of material. So I'm going to take you through the big differences between an angle grinder and my big table grinder. With an angle grinder, I have complete control over the grinder, but no control over the material. That means I have to vise the material in, and I move the grinder around it to get the shapes. With my big grinder, it's the exact opposite. I have no control over it. It stays in one place. But I have complete control over the material. I move the material how I want it. Now both grinders have their own challenges, but with an angle grinder, the biggest one is getting even strokes. Since I'm moving it around, I have to move it the exact same way each time, otherwise I mess up my shapes. The best way to do that is to treat this like a chisel. Smooth. Using a grinding wheel, I cut away the rough edges of everything we just cut to reveal our perfect knife shape underneath. And, like I just mentioned, I have no control over the material, so it moves as I push against it, meaning I have to keep correcting it. Once I have our profile defined, it's on to the edge geometry. I use the angle grinder slowly, treating it like a chisel over this metal. This ensures an even geometry, no spots shallower or deeper than anywhere else. I then get holes drilled for our pin stock, start our heat treat process, and quench. From here on out, I treat it the same way I would another knife, grinding again and again with higher grits to get it sharper and sharper each time. I then epoxy on our handle material and grind away what we don't need, and soon I have completed our knife. And there you have it, a perfect knife, stock reduced. No need for excessively expensive equipment. Bladesmithing on a budget. And that's it for today. Don't forget to like and subscribe. Thank you all so much for watching. I'll see you next time. The fun one.